I just checked today, and it's a total of 16 different food processing plants that have mysteriously caught fire or exploded. And I don't have much investigative information about this.
That's scary.
But I remember 3 years ago, there were a lot of fires in California. And that was from arcing on electric power towers, electricity towers. But there were a lot of rumors that there were some, let's just say, dawn beams from the sky that are hard to detect. And I think that we might be seeing some dawn beams from the sky, and we need some intrepid people with their smartphone cameras. Anyway, it's dangerous ground to talk about beams. People have been murdered over that. I try to avoid that because my friend Rob Kirby had a recent death. And 2 years ago, the doctors told him that there was a neurotoxin that they discovered. So that required an extra analysis. So just keep that in mind for those who are wondering what happened to Rob Kirby, my friend. And at times, you know, my mentor, he helped me with bank derivatives. Okay, the food supply, you know, in the past, I've focused on the concept of vertical integration. You know, like, let's look at the vertical integration for food. Seeds, well, that's in trouble because over 90% of corn, wheat, and soy is GMO. So they could cut that off at Monsanto anytime they want. Fertilizer, that is already being cut off because, for instance, Ukraine and Russia are big producers of fertilizer and exporters, and that's cut off. Belarus is cut off entirely. They're a huge potash producer. Canada now has a labor strike with the railways, and that's cutting off. I would wonder if their executives are being bribed to have a strike. That's cutting off fertilizer delivery. There are rumors, and I got to say this is good news. There are rumors that farmers were being not essentially bribed, but warned to accept certain U.S. food, agriculture department payments. And if they didn't burn their crops, they wouldn't receive the payment. And I'm told that is all false. It is all false. It's a bad rumor. I've talked with a couple of clients, and you know, it's amazing. You know, I got a couple of Iowa farmers. I got a trucker in Virginia. These are consult calls. They pay me to inform. A trucker in Indiana, 2 Iowa farmers, a rancher in Northern California who knows a lot of farmers. And he said, Jim, they all said this: we don't know anybody who's been paid to burn their crops. You know, that is an alternative news false story. Very amazing. There are other issues. One of my pet peeves is that there's no open source technology for farm equipment. I had a real loud complaint from a client on a consult call 1.5 years ago. I started them in early 2021. And they're a joy. They are so much fun. They're kind of long, and it wears on me, but I take notes and I learn a lot. This one guy told me, and it's not the first time, it was John Deere who did a repair on farm equipment, and only John Deere could do it. And they charged him like $12,000 for a few hours and a couple parts. And he said, Jim, it shouldn't have been more than a couple of grand. So they extort because it's not open source, and there are no OEMs and, you know, secondary suppliers for parts, and none of that. Okay, we have got a problem. And last time we talked, you pressed me, and it was okay. I didn't mind. It's just a very difficult question. How bad is it going to get? I think it's going to get pretty miserable for the food supply. I think we're going to see the non-producing regions, like, say, the Northeast, like Believe it or not, Florida does not produce a variety of food. They produce a heap of oranges and grapefruits and other fruits like
This is
peaches.
depressing. This means
Peaches.
what I think you're saying is we're about to start feeling it probably within the next couple months.
Yes, yes. And for a full cycle, all the way to next planting season of next March and April. The Davos
Or
crowd,
more, or even longer.
yeah, it could be, but I think there's going to be a real effort to make it just one full growing cycle season.
Why do you say that? Why do you think it'll only be one cycle?
There's going to be a reaction, and people are going to hurt, and they're going to figure out who the enemy is. They're going to see the Davos element. They're going to see the sabotage and start asking questions. Why are these food processing plants blowing up? Why is a Canadian railway union blocking fertilizer? Why is California obstructing pre-2015 trucks from entering the Long Beach ports? Why? Why are we doing green energy now to shut down parts of the economy when we're hurting? It's the exact wrong time to do green energy. Why? The people are starting to wake up, and just follow the King Cobra stories, and that's going to raise a lot of suspicions about what's going on.
Are you on board with that?
Yes, sir, I am on board on that. I've got a science background. I've studied. I had numerous questions when I first heard the issue, and I don't know if it's like a dangerous topic to pursue here.
Not really something we want to talk about on Fluff.
Okay. Let me just say, when I first started hearing about, Cobra story, I had a few questions, and very quickly, like in 2 days, they were all answered in a confirming manner toward mass production. And now we got Wellcome Trust, which is one of the dirtiest from the origin of this entire, let's just call it international medical incident. Wellcome Trust of Britain is now coming out with with production and research toward snake venom antidotes. So, okay, we're getting it from multiple sides. I like trying to put together a mosaic. It's been my style. It's been very reliable. By the way, Nino, this is my month for 18-year anniversary. 18 years. This is
18 years for what's the anniversary for?
The newsletter.
Wow, 18 years in that. That's awesome, man.
Years.
Wow.
I finished 216 monthly reports. I'm getting long in the tooth, but it's kind of funny, that expression. I don't have a lot of teeth to be long in the tooth. You've got a full set, as I can see.
Yeah, well,
I am missing.
For a boxer. None of these are fake.
Well, that's doubly amazing. I am missing more teeth than I have. These are all
and implants. I never had braces.
Wow, you lucky you. Me neither. Okay. I made a point about 3 months ago that if you want to make a good deal of money and you're a risk taker, buy corn futures, because it requires 3 times the fertilizer compared to soy. So we're going to see an excess of soy. We might see a shortage of soy seeds, but corn is already up to $8. Normal is like $2 and $3. So it's way up.
Where do you think this is all going to be by midsummer going into fall? Where do you see the country by midsummer going into fall with food and inflation?
I see the major supermarkets being supplied and running out quickly, and then being supplied and running out quickly. Like the cleaning products, the clothing products, towels, things like that, they're not going to run out of them. It's going to be, it's going to be chicken, it's going to be bread, it's going to be milk, it's going to be the staples. I don't think we're going to completely run out, but I'm kind of hoping that Walmart has a problem. I would, this is kind of vicious to say, but if there are break-ins for major supermarket chains and the biggest victim is Walmart, I won't break a sweat. Yeah. I won't even shed a tear because I think they're dirty. And I like to just leave that alone. They're dirty from underground activity. We're going to see the shelves get replenished, but not replenished every day. When I go to the supermarket, I actually watch the employees. I'm a crazy guy, Nino. I am so different. I look at products, I turn them around to see where they're made. I look at food items where they're made. I look to see if there are any GMO. I look to see, okay, there's a guy here, he's replenishing the shelves. What is he replenishing? It's spaghetti. It's the ragu sauce and presto sauce. Oh, he's got a bunch of oatmeal that he's reloading. He's got rice. And that is a common sight. Yeah. What we're not going to see is that happening every day or every 2 days. It's just not going to happen.
I've also been told that people, when this starts to hit, people really need to get out of the inner cities. That there's going to be a lot of crime. I've also heard, though this is rumor, that they want to take away $100 bills as well.
Yeah, well, I always think of it from a criminal angle. The $100 bill is a standard item for narco trafficking and money laundering. Okay. They're going to try to strangle competitors. I don't really know. Honestly, Nino, this is going to get two-sided. There's going to be assaults by the good guys, the white hats. And if you want to harm them for their money movements, $100 bills is a very good method to harm the narcos. They won't be able to transact.
I'll be honest, I don't even know what to believe anymore. This is all getting so confusing. And the fight we're in the thick of it now. Actually, I don't think we're in the thick of it. I talked to Juanito and he said, no, the storm's just coming. Like this hasn't been bad enough.
It's going to come. It's going to get worse. It's going to be a lot worse in Germany than it will be in the United States because we produce here. Germany doesn't.
Yeah, but it's easy for them to say no. Don't. We can't allow them to produce and feed Americans. Obviously, that's what they're going to do. Why do you think these attacks on the food companies? I mean, to me, it's
there's 16 food processing plants that have been destroyed, but there might be 300. Nino, I don't. It's not the majority, and I just look to see if it's going to continue. I mean, I've heard figures that are astonishing. It's like California has 30,000 trucks. My gosh, we are a big country. 16 processing plants, it's a drop in the bucket. But what it proves is motive. They're going to try to obstruct. I made the point of vertical integration.
Does this mean I'm going to have to become a vegan?
You might have to grow your own chickens or shoot your own quail.
I'm going to go hang out with Ted Nugent. I'm going to go to his ranch. Jeez.
Well, you can shoot coyotes in El Paso.
I'll shoot people when it comes down to it.
The vertical integration is a really important topic to consider. Are they going to block the distribution of food by truck? Are they going to make obstructions for truck licensing? Are they going to make obstructions for, say, maximum driving hours for truckers?
Hold on, but what about this? I mean, think about the truck jackings that's going to happen, the crime. I mean, it seems like to me, like, dang, I mean, the truckers are going to have their own security or be packing because this it's going to be like Mad Max. People are going to want their food. They're going to want their gas.
It could get like Mad Max. And the network is so sensitive. There are many, many pressure points. You made the point about big cities, and I agree, because look what has to happen in order for the big cities to be supplied. They've got to go through bridges, tunnels. They have to go through traffic jams. I've always been interested in, well, my gosh, why is food so expensive in Manhattan, New York City? It's got to get in there. They don't grow anything in New York. It all has to come in. The Holland Tunnel, the Lincoln Tunnel, the GW Bridge, the Verrazano Bridge. It's got to come in. It's got to come. And we're going to see a big problem in the largest cities. New York is going to suffer. And you know, while they're suffering, I hope they read their rag of the New York Times. Let them read their rag. I have lost a college roommate friend over the issue of the New York Times. He's from Long Island. He's a great guy, but he's a bit of a New York Times fool. I call him New York Times morons.
He believes it. He believes in this fucking propaganda. He believes whatever they print for it.
He's been reading it his whole life.
Oh, that's sad.
He worked in the city for 3 years as an oil accountant analyst, and he read the New York Times every single day. He told me that he gets his news from New York Times, from Governor Cuomo daily news briefs, and the CDC daily news briefs. I said, well, you get a large, complete diet of bullshit. I can't believe
people, someone so intelligent could have no idea.
He never took a science course.
No awareness at all. Zero awareness.
Never took a science course. I find that it's not 100% correlated, but it's high. People who believe the bullshit that's going on, who buy into the CDC and who believe that there's a pandemic going on, most of them did not take science courses. I do my insulting here. I'm a very active insulter. I told a guy the other day, you don't realize blah, blah, blah. And he said, no. And I said, did you sleep through biology, sir? And he said, oh, I don't remember much. No recuerdo mucho. And I said, oh, you might qualify as an imbecile. Yeah. And I walked away. I'm telling you, I'm with you. I'm up to my ears in stupidity.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Like, look at me. I'm a high school dropout, although I went and got my GED. Okay, but I still get it. It's still plain as day for me to see. I've always hated authority. I never did well with it.
I was going to ask, are you kind of an anti-establishment guy? And
100%. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do.
Okay, that is a very important strain. Now, I'm that's going to be hard to describe. I'm a bit of an abuse victim. Very, very little bit in the way of parental abuse, but rather significant with teacher abuse. That included sexual abuse in an all-Catholic boy high school. Get a load of that.
Oh, I went to Catholic school, not high school. I was like, because in the Catholic school that I was going to go to here, they were like, it's an all-boys school. I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. You're not going to deprive me of chicks in high school. And I quit high school anyway.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, I did get deprived, and that's why I'm a bit nutty right now and imbalanced.
Well, you didn't really get deprived. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, I broke the hand of a high school teacher when it was in my pants.
Jeez, man.
Okay, let me get to some nuts and bolts here.
Oh, okay.
We've got price inflation, and food is just one part of that. It's supplies, it's hardware, it's homewares, it's construction, supplies. It's across the board. A lot of different areas are having price inflation. It's now hit the service sector. The service consumer price index has gone up. It's catching up with the supplies. We now have, I think it's 20% price inflation, and we're starting to see the bond interest rate, the bond yields. This is a very big story, and I want to make some time for this because it's a finance item that we cannot get around. The bond yields are way behind the price inflation. Usually it's price inflation plus a little bit. But price inflation is 20%. And even when price inflation was 6 and 7 and 8% a few years ago, we still had 2% and 1% and 3% bond yields for the 10-year treasury. Now we're very close to 3%, and it's causing problems. We've got the junk bonds that are going up. They're trash. We've got the spread. It's showing strain signals. We've got the bond market yields going up and the stock market is going down. And my big bellwether that I've been using for a long, long time is the bank stock index, BKX, and it's ready to fall apart. It has gone through support levels. It's gone through a trend line. My smartest bank colleagues, I got a couple of them, they think we're going to see a lot lower bank stock share prices. Those are big banks. And it's from a couple of reasons. They're loaded in bond trading, and they're not making money with that. There's another reason for this, and it's two big reasons, and one's easy to talk about, one's hard. They're loaded with bank derivatives. The Fed is saying we're cutting back on money being printed, and they're lying because they're printing the money to cover derivatives. And this is something Rob Kirby covered a lot in great detail. I will not cover it in great detail. The key is to look at the Federal Reserve balance sheet. It's still expanding while they claim to be tightening. They're lying. They're buying up derivatives and liquidating them. The second thing that I think is hurting the banks is they're not making as much money with narcotics money laundering. And that's not in the news. It's not on their balance sheet. It's not on the quarterly report.
How could they not be when the borders are wide open? You get what I'm saying? Like, I mean,
there's interdiction by the White Alliance.
Okay. Because
they're capturing.
What I'm hearing is the drugs are just flowing right now, like never before seen.
I think at the street level that's true, and at the tonnage level it is not true.
Oh, you're talking about tunnels? Okay.
No, tonnage.
Oh, tonnage. What is that? I don't even know what that is.
Interdiction, and they wiped out 50 tons in the Caribbean.
Okay.
On a ship. But
okay.
you get several kilos going through the Texas border. 50 tons is stopped in the Caribbean, and several kilos go through the Texas border. You see my point? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That is a very big issue, and also Afghanistan is winding down. I've told the story before, but I've got a client who contacted me. It was about 3 years ago. He said, my father is at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, and the flow of Afghan heroin is so much lower now in 2018 that it's affecting the supply of airplane and helicopter parts. Okay, this has been going on for years. Trump and his team have been doing interdiction now for a few years. And I know the borders are porous. I'm not saying that it's unimportant. I'm just saying that it's small volume compared to tonnage on a ship. 50 tons on a ship. And it could be Michelle Obama's ship, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that gets interdicted. Okay, the derivatives are being liquidated, and I've got a theory, and I don't have anybody shooting it down among my colleagues, but I believe a deal was struck with the Biden show players and the Rockefellers. And it went like this. We're going to allow the Biden show to continue. We're under threat of nuclear attack by the container vessels off California from the Chinese. And you Rockefellers can keep a small portion of your trillions that will not be seized by means of the Omnibus Act. And in return, you will liquidate the petrodollar derivatives. So the Rockefellers said, we need a $100 oil price for that. How are we going to do it? And the Biden show says, well, we'll cut off a supply here, cut off supply there, impose some strict rules, and we'll let you have free reign for driving the price up from 50 to 100. And now it's over 110. We got restrictions. There's a lie going on. The United States is importing Russian oil, and we're lying. We're lying about it. We're lying. So that keeps it from completely running out. But the Rockefellers really have control of the Middle East oil production, the Persian Gulf, the Gulf region, Qatar, Oman, UAE, Saudi. They don't control Iran. Iran is really quite an interesting story. I don't know if we have enough time to mention Iran.
Well, you can touch on it. Touch on it.
Okay, touch on it. They have now created 82 bilateral trade deals with other countries. 82 different trade deals. I think it's not 82 countries, it's 82 trade deals. 4 of them might be with China, for instance. They've got new trade deals with the Saudis. They've declared peace with the Saudis because the Izzies have gotten out of the room. I don't wish to explain that.
Okay.
The Iranians are now a principal.
Could this be a whole segment in itself if you wanted to do a follow-up and do another segment talking about this?
Yeah, I could.
Let's just touch on it for the audience so they can get a well-rounded understanding of what you're talking about.
The Iran nuclear deal is a very important deal. Trump interrupted it because there's too much narcotics money being moved around, plane loads of shrink-wrapped money being moved around that's narcotics based. He called it one of the ugliest, dirtiest deals in the history of the United States. Thank you, Obama. This is what you're all about. Okay, Iran is now, I regard them as the axis for 82 spokes on the wheel. And the spokes are extending into the Eurasian trade zone. Principally Russia, China. It's a lot more than just that, but those are the biggest spokes. Pakistan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, other Persian Gulf neighbor nations, could be Thailand. There are a lot of deals going on. And what's happening is China and Russia are allowing Iran to be the principal player in drawing in countries into the Eurasian trade zone. Now, I mistakenly thought, I don't mind mentioning my mistakes because fortunately I don't have a lot. I wish I could say the same. Well, I've got mistakes when it comes to evaluating gringos. Anyway, I made a mistake. I thought that Germany could buy some Iranian gas, natural gas. And I was told, no, the Iranians can supply gas, but it's all LNG also. And it's really about the same price as the U.S. liquefied natural gas. I said, yeah, but what about the Trans-Iranian pipeline, the TIP? Well, I'm told that for 15 years it's been obstructed and it's never been completed because of the Syrian conflict, because of the Iraqi conflict. You can't get it to the Mediterranean because of those conflicts. And it got sabotaged and it's got funding interrupted, never quite made it. So the Germans are shit out of luck. If they want to follow the Biden show, they can starve their people and shut down their industry. When are the Germans going to wake up, throw out this new Merkel lookalike by the name of Schultz? When are they going to wake up? I have 2 or 3 key German clients, and here's a funny feature. I don't have any new German orders in over a year and a half. They're being dumbed down. They're not dumb people, but they're being dumbed down by constant, daily barrage of climate change news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolute barrage.
And we are too, though. America is too. I mean, we're getting hit with it right now, and they're really picking up the pace on this. I mean, go ahead.
It's a distraction.
Yeah, I know.
From reality.
I know. That's going to be the next big thing they blame. Right now, they're blaming Putin and COVID. Climate change is right around the corner. It's here.
Climate change ruined our food supply.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not going to wash. It's not going to wash because you got too many stories about fertilizer, too many stories about GMO seeds, too many stories about railway interruption, too many stories about green energy.
And that's why Obama and Hillary want to come out against the disinformation and extremists and start locking down the internet again. I mean, they're getting ready to do that again.
They're not going to succeed. If they didn't lock down the internet in the last 2 years, they're never going to. It's not that easy to do. It's really not that easy to do. It's not even that easy to lock down, say, the blockchain, because that's not one either. It's several. Okay. We're going to see a tremendous conflict with the European allies of the United States. We're going to see Trudeau overthrown in Canada.
And how long do you think? This year?
I think this year. I think a lot is going to happen in the next few months going into November. We've got a lot
can happen on both sides, black hats and white hats, or do you think the white hats coming in to take it over?
I think the white hats are going to show their force. The black hats are going to do acts of desperation. It's not going to be seen as very successful. They're going to do ridiculous gestures by the black hats, and it's going to get shoved aside. We're going to see some revelations.
So you have faith. So this has been a major buzzkill. But on the good part of this, you're going to tell me that you have faith the White House are going to make a move very soon. They already are. Obviously, they're already making moves. They're forcing the deep state's hand, the black hat's hand. But you're saying we're going to see more of it in the next coming months.
Yeah, look at the rumors a month ago that Fauci was the newest milk carton missing boy.
Well,
follow up on that
on
story.
Fucking TV tomorrow.
You might see a double.
I mean,
I think they've restricted even the double. That's a dangerous topic. I'm just saying, watch the milk carton Fauci story because it is exploding.
Okay.
The White Hats are waiting for a moment, and I don't know exactly what their criteria are, but Weather Mountain in Western Virginia, not West Virginia, but the western part of the state of Virginia, Weather Mountain was taken over. This is a very big event. And there were casualties. They killed a bunch of FEMA officers guarding Weather Mountain. This is where the emergency broadcast system is located.
Oh, interesting.
That took place in mid-March, before I posted my March report. I stopped everything.
Just repeat that again. They took over the. Go ahead.
Okay. And it was sometime around the 10th, 12th, 14th of March, right before mid-month, a news item came out that Weather Mountain had been taken control of by the White Hats. There was a New Orleans conference for security. It's really quite ironic. They vacated the majority of the guards for Weather Mountain at the entrance in order to attend a security meeting, a security conference in New Orleans. So they abandoned the security of Weather Mountain to go to a security conference. They had a skeletal staff. I was led to believe, from what I read, it was like 8 or 10 different guys, when normally it's 25 or 30. They killed all but 2. The good guys killed all but 2, overran them very easily, very quickly. I mean, like a half-hour firefight. And they kept 2 wounded FEMA officers alive for their retinal scan.
Interesting.
To open the doors, and what they found inside was 3 years plus of food supply for 1,000 people. They found all kinds of different broadcast equipment, and now it's a matter of when the White Hats choose to do the emergency broadcast. I was under the impression that it was mainly an issue of dictating to the mainstream news and the leading news networks and newspaper networks what was going to be told, but it's not that simple. It's more like a broadcast. It's more like entries onto smartphones, interruption of smartphones, messages on smartphones, interruption of certain internet sites, and the mainstream news would become captive, and if they didn't follow the rules, they would be charged with sedition and treason immediately.
They should already.
Yeah, yes. I don't disagree at all. I'm very disappointed that they have not. A few have been arrested at the vice president level, and we really don't know how much some MSM networks, we don't know how much their vice presidents have been infiltrated by the white hats. Okay, we're very familiar with how the evil ones infiltrate our good systems like the FBI and the Department of Justice and whatever. But we're not very clear on how the infiltration works in reverse. I'm told that at least 2 or 3 CNN vice presidents have been captured and replaced. Wow. And I ask, what are they doing? What do they do? I don't just say, oh, great, let me wave my flag and celebrate, I'll have a beer. No, I say, what does it mean?
Right.
What are they doing?
Asking questions.
Follow up.
Right.
Critical thinking. Right. What are they doing? Are they going to convince another vice president? Are they going to have a policy within the network? Are they occasionally going to show a very embarrassing story and not follow it up? And later they do follow it up. I ask questions, and I tell you, I drove my teachers crazy. Not another question from you, James. Well, yeah, I've got questions. Isn't this learning? I never see that. I never asked the question, is this indoctrination class or is it a learning class?
That's exactly how I saw all of it. I just fucking exited.
But I got a little nasty, Nino. I would point out mistakes by the teachers.
That's still better than what I used to do. I used to put dog shit in their desk. So ooh. I was bad, Jim. I was a bad one.
You sound like you were a lot worse than me. I was.
Fuck, I was.
I did everything.
The priests in my Catholic school didn't dare touch me.
Wow. Okay.
No, this kid's nuts.
Okay, we have got a lot of turning points. I think we're going to see the early signals of a treasury bond default. We're going to see shockwaves. We're going to see, we may not see auction failures of the treasuries, but we're going to see indications that maybe we should have, and the effect will be on derivatives, and some banks are going to quietly fail, and we're not going to be sure why. Some big
you have
banks
any idea what banks might fail?
Yeah, Bank of America.
Yeah, they're already failing.
The Bush narco bank.
What about Wells Fargo?
Before I get to Wells Fargo, I'd like to talk about Citibank, Citicorp, the Robert Rubin Bank. They are loaded with derivatives. They were the biggest beneficiary of the multi-trillion-dollar handouts that took place in late 2019. And I believe it was to mandate. I think they're the official dog catcher of derivatives and their rescue. If this thing breaks, okay, remember on my point that the Rockefellers were given an assignment or agreed for an assignment where they wanted the task of managing the petrodollar derivative liquidation and dissolution. If that's not successful, then some big banks are going to fail in more than one. We're talking about multi-trillion-dollar losses. And for people who are not aware, you've been asleep for the last 20 years, your savings accounts and CDs in the banks are considered loans to the bank, and they are junior to the derivatives. So if there's a $2 trillion Bank of America accident, all of the bank accounts disappear. Okay, whoa. That is a good reason to remove your money from Bank of America, and that's a good reason why they might not like me, and they might keep my picture on their wall during a satanic ritual. Okay, there's going to be a lot of events and turning points. Right now,
you can't just say that and just move on to the next subject.
Exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to move on.
What the fuck?
I think I've been attacked by that kind of element.
Just saying, I was like,
I got way too many 3 Sigma events, 2 of them in the last year, to even convince the non-spiritual, non-Christian colleague friend of mine. He said, I get it, Jim. I get it. You got three more 3 Sigma events. Okay, there's going to be other events like in Europe, NATO and Ukraine are trying to petition the Russians to divert the supply on Nord Stream 1 that's been active, that's been in flow for a few years. They're trying to redirect that. And I think Russia's going to tell them, go sit on it. The Russians are not going to put up with it. The Russians are now having captured a U.S. military officer of high rank general. I heard the name. I think it was like McClinton, or I can't remember exactly. But they've captured a French general. They're going to use them as pawns. They're going to use them for trading items. They now have evidence that the U.S. military was involved in downing a frigate called the Moskva, which is Russian for Moscow. It was probably done by a NATO submarine in the Black Sea, which I am told is now trapped in the Black Sea. Okay, there are a lot of pivot points, and the pivot points all display the weakness of the Davos cabal. They display the weakness of the Rockefellers. I think the Rockefellers are at risk of being liquidated. And that means their medical complex. It means their pharmaceutical complex. You now have Burla.
Aren't the Rockefellers selling off large estates? And so are the Rothschilds. I've seen something like that on that they're selling off large parcels of land, ranches, estates.
I've heard that too. And every time I hear it, I think they've got a cash flow problem. They're trying to raise money. Like if I'm in trouble, I'd want to try to sell the cheapest property that I could get through a broker's hands.
Right.
Just get rid of it. I need the cash and do it at a discount. I'd love to know those large property sales that you're referring to. I'd love to know the discount on past known value. I think they're at a discount. There are so many different events. I would love to see some photographs of certain beams for lighting fires on food processing plants. I would like to see a reversal of the railway union strike. Why now? What are you doing? I'd like to see a reversal of the green energy rules at the Long Beach plant. Port. We've got a lot of things happening. We have now the Florida governor declaring that other state residents, you're not really welcome, but they're not using those words.
Right.
They're saying life will be difficult here, and they're trying to address it for the migrants. But I think they're trying to tell it to all people, like people trying to get out of Chicago.
Like in California, Chicago.
California too. Oh gosh,
what are they doing exactly to make it difficult for them?
They're describing high rent. They're describing some food distribution challenges. They're describing homeless crime.
So they're trying to deter these people from going there.
Yeah.
So we'll just happily accept them in Texas, I guess.
I just did a consult from a client in Idaho and another client in Nevada, and they said the same thing. We are now doing our dead level best to limit the California immigration.
Oh, it's terrible. Nobody can stand them. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it's true. Like everyone that I know in other cities that are locals are hating these transplants that are coming in. I have a friend in Tennessee that has their neighbors are Californians, and they've set up Airbnb tents outside their house. 3 of them.
They're bringing their problems with them.
It's horrible, man.
They've destroyed Austin, Texas.
Oh, Austin's a shit show now. I mean, I can't.
It's sad. It's sad.
No longer that college.
I'm sorry. When I got laid off in '93 from Digital Equipment Corp, I maintained friendship with a younger fellow who was not exactly an intern. I was not exactly his mentor, but I did a little bit of mentoring. I've been mentored for 3 different guys, and I really loved it. I'm a good teacher. Anyway, this guy, he went to work for Compaq, and he went to Austin, Texas, and he maintained contact with me. He said, Jim, here we are. It's late February. I'm playing tennis. It's 7 o'clock at night. Eat your heart out. And I'm in Boston. You know, it's cold. And he said, it's really great here. But I will say there's a lot of Northerners migrating to Austin. And it's changing. And I didn't have the foresight to ask, how about Californians? That's the new trend because, and this is my opinion, Nino, I believe the Chinese are influencing the officials in California to make life somewhat unbearable.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that.
In order to open the door later for Chinese immigration on a mass scale.
I agree.
And maybe even with some planned new constructed cities in the center.
100%. I agree with you. It's a Chinese takeover and they're pushing everybody out.
I've got a story to tell you. It's from Dr. Phoenix. Dr. Phoenix said, I know a high-level California official, and when Newsom was arrested in January, Dr. Newsom called this particular official and said, why don't you have a news conference to talk about why Newsom was arrested? It wasn't because he got COVID. He was arrested for, let's just say, abuse of small people, torture and abuse of small people.
Doesn't surprise me.
And the California official said to my source, I'm not going to have a news conference. I'm not going to do as you ask because I'm receiving a rather substantial amount of money from the Chinese. Oh. And I shouldn't say more than that.
Yeah.
We know about other stories like the water commissioner was paid by the Chinese to drain a certain lake into the ocean instead of into the water supply. So there was a shortage of water to make life more and more unbearable. They've got rules where you need to get a permit to cut a limb down from your tree. They were subjected.
It's unbearable to live there. I mean, I don't blame them for leaving, but they also need to be responsible for what they have created in that state.
I know.
Take responsibility and stop coming to our state and shitting on us.
It's not the majority of Californians. I've had this debate with other clients who've done a consult with me. I say, what proportion are leading these movements? And they say it's like a quarter of the people. And they're very vocal. And then they get the support of a leader and they take over the San Francisco, mayor's office. And before you know it, they got a lot of wacky rules. Unbelievable. I asked a direct question to a Los Angeles buddy of mine who used to be a colleague, but he wasn't contributing, Nino, so I got rid of him from my colleague group. I said, hey, look, keep in touch, but you're not going to be in our circle. You're not going to, you don't add anything. I called him up about 2 months ago. It was February or March, right in there. Yeah, February. I said, tell me, David, what are you seeing on food prices in Southern California? And he said, double since last autumn. Ooh. Across the board. So are they shipping food products to China? Are they exporting California farm output? I think they are, Nino, and I can't prove it. I'm looking for data. I'm always on the alert for that data, and I think it's very well guarded. And it could be on secretive ships that don't have flag markings that are the equivalent of black SUVs. Just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, Willie, I got to tell you, Jim, this has been a great segment. I want to bring you on again probably in the next couple of weeks if you're open to it. Talk about Iran, what you were about to get started with on that.
Yeah.
And we'll dive into this. And I want to have you reoccurring, man, because you are a valuable guest on Nino's Corner.tv. I don't know if I can put this on Fluff Tube. I'm going to try. I mean, we talked about
put it on a couple and hope it doesn't get banned from the bigger.
Yeah.
There is cause for hope. I think we are about to have a breakout of revelations and emergency broadcast. We're about to have a breakout of news items of arrested people. Let me just ask a couple basic questions. When was the last Tom Cruise movie? When was the last Tom Hanks movie? When was the last Christian Bale movie? We have a new Batman movie, and it's not Christian Bale. Where are these people?
They're not out promoting anything. You don't see them anywhere.
Where's Meryl Streep? Where's Kevin Spacey? Where's Spielberg's productions?
I will say Kevin Spacey, I haven't seen him in years. I mean, and there's quite a few. There's quite a few. What about James Comey? I haven't seen James Comey. I haven't seen Podesta.
I think these people are pushing up daisies. I really do. I watched the Academy Award a few weeks ago. I thought it was alarming. To me, it was like a BLM Hollywood festival.
Right. Yeah, there was no real big stars there, was there? Was Tom Hanks there?
No. Oh, no, Lord, no. No, none of those names I mentioned were there.
It's just it's questionable, man.
I have been told that there are some movies that are going to be released soon where certain figures are all CGI in the several scenes that they're in.
I've heard that too.
This is going to be quite fascinating to observe. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of good news. It's going to take a while. It's going to be like a breakout, and then we have to do a cleanup, and then we have to do food relief. I maintain my prediction that there's going to be an about face toward the U.S.-Russia relations. Russia is going to have a hard time to find a place to send all their surplus food output. And I can't think of a better place than the U.S. in food emergency relief after the revelations take place. I know it's a wacky sounding prediction, but I got to tell you, Nino, 6 or 8 years ago, I had other wackies and they all came true. I've never had so many little congratulatory comments and emails. Jim, do you remember you said this way back about 6 years ago, 5 years ago? I said, yeah, I remember that. And people tell me that if it doesn't happen in 2 or 3 years, it's not a correct prediction. I told people we're going to have de-dollarization. There's going to be an international boycott of the dollar. There's going to be a seeking of non-dollar settlement. And XRP is going to be a big part of that, by the way. And it's going to take a few years. I said this in 2014 and 15. I said, look for the end of the decade. It's going to start to happen. And it is, and it has, and it's happening in spades. It's scary. But Iran is a focal point for the Eurasian trade zone. Look for all the different bilateral partners for Iran to become major members. Some people call it the SCO, Shanghai Co-op Org, the security initiative. And I'm thinking, no, it's going to be something much bigger than SCO. It's going to be a Eurasian trade zone, and they want Germany in it. So they got to topple this regime. It's going to be difficult, but if enough Germans are starving and out of work, they're going to be looking for scapegoats. They're going to be looking for targets. They're going to be marching. If you're not working, you can be marching, and you can steal a pitchfork. And I tell you, it's going to get very dangerous in Western Europe. Italy has just imposed a social network scoring system.
What?
It's not going to go over well. Italians do not put up with shit. They just don't. They don't put up with anything. You're going to see the IMF attempt to do very questionable and unpredictable policies because they're going to be attacked. This whole issue about central bank digital currencies, I haven't touched on it at all. It's going to be a big war.
Let's touch on that in the next segment.
On the next time. It's going to be a war, Nino. It's going to be the old guard versus the new guard, and the old guard is not going to win. And they're not going to take the defeat easily. It's going to be quite interesting.